Good morning, everyone. Hope all is well. God, the sound floor in today is like really high. It's higher than normal. A lot of buzz in the air. I really should have set this stuff up before I started, but that's not how I roll apparently. I just go. Let's see here. I'm turning into a physician. Not really. No, that's an insult to physicians. I'm just like every time I get on the internet and I listen to physicians talk, they always use the crappiest mic possible. But I'm using like an $800 microphone. But I'm never set up. I never set these things up before I start talking, and I should really start to do that because it never comes out well, and it's always just me rambling. But hey, that's mental health. That's no excuse for not setting these things up, though. I really need to, I really need to work on that. So I don't even know what I've put out on this thing. I should go back and see what. Um, oh, I do have America's behavioral health crisis. What does it mean to live in a free country and influencing others? That's what I have on the internet right now. An hour and 47 minutes long. America's behavioral health crisis. That's probably that's probably painful to listen to. Oh, I can still laugh about it though, man. I'm gonna admit something right now. I hate the way this thing sounds in my head. I hate, like, I don't think it's happening on your end, but I can hear, like, I'm hearing like layers on my own voice, and I think I have to get rid of this audio box USB 96 thing and just go back to a normal monitor, because what I hear is just absolute insanity. Wait a minute, did I just fix it? I like See, when I turn my head, like I want to hear my monitor because see how the room gets louder. Maybe that's my problem. See, if I turn the mixer all the way up, you can hear the entire room, which is just a fan. But my voice sounds normal now, and the more I go towards, oh, that makes sense to me now. So if I go right here, see, I hear way too much in my room though, man. And what that is a compression button. What I need is compression, and I have a compressor. I have like a $600 compressor somewhere in storage that I just need to get out. It's probably broken because it's been in the cold for 2 years. I swear. Anyway, you didn't come here to talk to me, or you didn't come here. You probably didn't come here at all. You probably just found this on accident. Um, See, that is not okay. It sounds like Oklahoma, man. Just I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I can. Oh my god. Okay, so we're going to talk about mental health. We have to. This is something that we need to do in this country. Uh like I'm going to offend people. No one is watching, but I don't care. This is meant to be stuck on the internet. I'm going to get I'm I need See, the problem with me, the problem I'm having with putting stuff on the internet is it's going to be just it it's going to be piled underneath just smut content of people just farting in other people's faces and jokes and all this stuff. Like anything worth a damn that's educational, you have to look for on the internet. That's what I can tell you about searching for anything mental health. Anything mental health. You uh you have to dig for it, and when you dig for it, you may still be wrong. Which brings me to my first point. So if you want to improve on your mental health, um, there is no active means to get to that, because everything you did up to that point got you to that point of being mentally frustrated, irritated, high anxiety, all of that. Everything that you've done up to that point has gotten you to that point. So doing anything to get you further out of that point is completely useless. And I'm including blah blah therapy with a psychologist. I work in behavioral health. I work with psychologists every single day of my life. Talking to them, not in every instance. Talk blah blah therapy is important to some extent, but the problem with talk therapy, I'm just going to keep saying dumb shit, is it keeps your mind rolling. And that's a problem. Because you're still going to keep thinking about it. You're still going to keep processing it in your head, and it's just going to keep going like a wheel. A really lubed wheel that just spins and spins and spins and spins. And what that spinning is your anxiety. So the best place for you, the best thing for you to do is to just sit. You know, in Buddhism they call it the lotus position, where your legs are crossed and you're just sitting there. You don't have to sit with your legs crossed. Just sit. Don't be active. Just sit and contemplate. See, the goal of action is contemplation. And if you're always acting and never contemplating, you're never thinking. You're just thinking of your own thoughts. And that's not healthy. No one will tell you that. No one will tell you that. For some reason, I don't know why people don't tell you that. Maybe I should ask them. I should just ask one of the psychologists I work with tomorrow when I get back to work. Why don't you tell people that? See, if a psychologist told you to contemplate, they put themselves out of a job. Because their job is to listen to you. And what I'm yes, I'm telling you that may not be the best option. Um because you're just going to keep going and going and going and going and going and going. You don't have to run out into the woods and sit. You can sit anywhere and contemplate. You can do that anywhere. You can do it anywhere. And like, there's a book I want to talk about that I feel that's controversial. Um, the title is pretty controversial, I think. Um, God, I got so many good books in here, man. is not. Is that the book? Okay, so the author, I think everyone should buy this book, but I think you should be very very careful when you listen to it because you need to listen to this book with the right mindset, not with the mindset I'm a rebel and I'm going to take the world back, because you're not taking the world back, you're taking your mental health back. When doing mental health, when trying to improve your mental health, the worst thing that you can do is say I'm going to battle the world, because you are that. And that's your ego saying that. The author that I'm talking about, he's a psychologist, or he was. He's passed now. He's dead. Um, his name is Thomas Sass. He wrote a book called The Myth of Mental Illness. And I've also got, is that the book that he wrote another one, but I'm trying to find it. Let's see. What in the hell? I'm just going to play this book real quick and see what. This may get really loud, and I apologize.
The content changes from personal problems to bodily problems,
That is not.
while the form changes from verbal linguistic language to bodily gestural language. Accordingly, hysterical conversion is best regarded as a process of translation, a conception first proposed by Freud.
That is not the book that I'm looking for. Hang on. Did they take that book out of my library? See, this is happening to me, and it's really irritating. Amazon is taking. Well, I guess it is Amazon because they own this company. They're taking books out of my library. They're actively taking books out of my library, and the book that I'm trying to find is gone, and that's irritating. There it is, right there. Okay, I still got it. Whew, that scared me, man. So yeah, Audible will take books out of your library. You need to be very careful about what the books you buy. And I buy both books. I buy actual copies of books plus the audio book, just so I can have a copy of both. Um, but this book is called the Psychiatry: The Science of Lies. Now, so you listen to that title and you're like, well, psychiatrists are lying to me. I'm not really mentally ill. That's not what's going on here. That is not. I don't like the title of that book, because mental health really is a thing. Because I am someone who spends my days locked in rooms with psychotic people and nurse these people back to life. That's what I do 5 days a week. I work with psychotic people. I work with intellectually disabled people who are in states of psychosis, who are in states of catatonia, who are in states, delusions. I nurse people back to a state of reason, a state where they're able to do their own thing again, a state where they're back to their baseline. And that means that could mean anything. People's baselines, or what their baselines is. I can't really explain people's baselines without that person in front of you and me. See, that's the problem with talking about mental illness. Is when you're talking about something, unless it's in the room, it's hard to talk about, because you're talking about things. It's like talking about smoke. And the smoke moves and it waves and then it disappears, and then you're talking about nothing at all. I spent years trying to define schizophrenia, um, and a lot of people will tell you no one knows what schizophrenia is. I had a physician tell me that no one knows what schizophrenia is. I don't work with that physician anymore because that guy was an idiot, and I mean that. Um, Schizophrenia, explaining schizophrenia is a lot like explaining Zen, and when you can't explain it unless it's you can't really explain Zen. Zen is process, and so is schizophrenia. But um, I really want to get good at explaining it again. I feel like I was really good at explaining schizophrenia about 6 years ago, and then I started having seizures and like having multiple seizures and going homeless, and then working your life back up into a point where you're like functioning again. You lose a lot of information. And that's part of mental health too, and we'll talk about that as well. This is why um, homelessness is a weapon. I will say that. God, that the static charge in my audio is just awful. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's just like "Argh." It's like electricity, man. It is electricity. It's not like it. Oh, all right. I don't even know if you can hear this book that I'm playing right now. Let's bring that up and let's bring that
Was
up.
trying to get out of it became powerful motives for malingering. In this situation, psychiatrists often assumed the roles of humanitarian doctors, diagnosing malingerers as suffering from
Okay, so I don't even know where to start on here. This is why I need to like prepare this shit before I talk about it because I feel like all I'm talking about is nonsense that's important, but it's still all just nonsense. And if it wouldn't be nonsense if I would like prepare it. Everything is beautiful nonsense.
hysteria, thus protecting them from the death sentence of having to return to the trenches. Before
What I have a lot of stuff bookmarked in this book. Um See, this guy Sass talks a lot about malingering and stuff like that, and people do malinger. I've had intellectually disabled people malinger. I've had psychotic people don't necessarily malinger because they're psychotic. Well, okay, so when I'm talking about psychotic people, I'm talking about people in states of psychosis. A lot of people don't know what that means. No, actually, I'm gonna show you what this means. Let's see if I can bring this up. Let's see. I'm totally gonna get demonetized, but that's okay. I'm not monetized anyway. Um. Oh man, I watched this video a long time ago. Like, so I spend a lot of my time watching police videos on the internet, like especially shootouts. Not because I enjoy watching this stuff, just because I want to study the behavior of the police officer and the suspect. And what I find is, oh man, I want to put a really high number on this, and I think I should. Like, a very large portion of these suspects are mentally ill people. When I'm saying they're mentally ill people, they're in states of psychosis. There's this video. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go.
Imagine being able to
Hang on, I need to figure out how to put this on your so you can watch it. Um. I need to figure out how I can. Oh, there we go. How come I can't? God, man. These programs. I'm using ABS right now, which works fine, but. What in the hell? There we go. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. I know this looks stupid, but it's okay. God, that is awful.
build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Okay, so
Slide it out. I'm mental.
Everything about Mint Mobile seems
think this is what I'm
and
trying
now
to
we're
find. I'm
introducing
pretty sure it is.
5G home internet for
For me. 2,000 foot pursuit. Covers our
this
track.
is not the right video.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! You're gonna get tased! You're gonna get fucking tased, man! Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground!
That's not the right video. I don't know. They might have taken that video down. Trying to think of what that video was called. I mean, I could probably show you any one of these and it would still be mental illness. That guy was psychotic. See, the problem is they may be taking these videos down. I think they may have. Ouch. They may have taken that video down. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, here we go.
Teasing now, God.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I can't laugh. I'm just laughing at I'm sorry. Okay, so I fight with these people. I get into hand. There's some days where I spend an 8-hour shift taking blows from psychotic patients. Like that's just the way. That's just the way my day goes. Like, I don't think people understand what I do and they don't understand when I say what I do. They're not comprehending what I'm doing. Like I can't physically hurt these people. I can't defend myself. I can defend myself against these people, but I can't defend myself in ways where I can punch people. I have to grab their hands and subdue them and put them in restraints and do stuff like that. I can't fight back unless they're trying to kill me. I can fight back, but I can't punch them. I can't hurt them. If I hurt my patients, I go to jail because my patients aren't mentally there. They are mentally in a position where they're not responsible for their behavior. But I am. So I go to jail if I hurt these people. Okay, so what in the hell?
Teasing now, God.
Okay, so what?
Doing good. How can I help you?
My name.
Okay.
My name or anything?
What this is? This guy is in a state of psychosis. God damn, that is really annoying. I gotta figure out where that's coming from so I can stop it. This guy's mentally not well.
I mean, yeah. What can I do for you?
Talk. I put my thumb out. You didn't pull over.
Okay. What can I do for you? Are you okay?
Solid, man.
Okay. What can I do for you, man?
Just wanted to chat. I put my thumb out. You didn't respond. So.
Oh man, I can't stop in the middle of traffic. I pulled over. I mean, I'm here or not?
And this officer is unable to identify.
Okay.
Parked in the middle. This officer is unable to identify that this guy's in a state of psychosis. He's unable to identify that this guy doesn't have any ability to reason with him. This cop's trying to reason with someone who's unable to be reasoned with. And any amount of escalation is going to lead to violence.
A little street. I mean, it's not necessary.
Any amount of escalation with a psychotic patient and your behavior. If I was dealing with a psychotic patient and I was getting more and more intense as I would deal with this patient, the patient would get violent. Because what the patient is doing is trying to save themselves from something they don't understand.
What can I do for you? You got ID with you, my man?
Like, they're not intentionally trying to hurt you or anybody. They're trying to get free.
I don't need anything.
Okay. What you doing out here, my friend?
Walking.
Okay. Well, was that you that moved the cones over there?
No.
You sure? 'Cause I was told that you did. But you have a seat over here. Let's talk.
So,
about it.
and this cop
You don't mind if I have a
is
seat?
not very good at his job, which you'll see here in a minute.
I need to see some ID, sir. Come here. Come here.
See,
Come here.
the best way to deal with psychotic people is redirection. and calmness and kindness, because they're like he's gonna walk up to this guy and grab him, and he's gonna get violent.
Turn
Just
around,
watch.
turn around.
Don't do that.
There he goes.
Turn around. Do not do this.
Bro,
do not do this.
you don't
Turn
wanna
around.
do
See,
this.
it's just gonna
Turn
get more
around.
escalated.
Turn the fuck around.
You don't want to do this.
And this
bro.
cop,
Turn around. Turn around.
see, this cop thinks he has the things under control, and he does not.
Stop resisting.
You don't want to do this.
Can you give me another unit? Brentwood, North McKinley, stop. Stop. Stop fighting.
Just let me go. I'll sit on the bed.
You're under arrest right now.
Yes, sir.
Put your hands behind your back.
Stop. Stop.
Tase him, Todd.
Get on the ground.
Tase him now, God.
And this cop that has no fucking clue what he's doing. Not the slightest idea. His hands are going to the wrong spots and everything. And it just gets more and more violent. See, the guy kicked the taser. So I was dealing with it with a patient the other day that did just this. Like, you can control psychotic people to a reason, to the point, like, you need multiple people who understands the situation, who understands it correctly to do it correctly. These guys don't know what the hell they're doing. And this cop just got his taser kicked out of his hand because he's not watching the suspect's legs. He's not watching his arms. He's just, his mind, I'm talking about the police officer. His mind is tasing this guy. He's just not doing it right. He's not doing it right. And now this guy got kicked. Even this guy who thinks he has it under control is not doing it right. Because he just got slapped in the face.
Josh, hit you again.
And this cop tased himself in the leg.
Ah! Shut myself.
And I'll tell you, like, working in a psych ward, when a police officer comes in with a gun and a taser, that's terrifying to me, because about 40% of my patients have no ability to reason. They don't have any common sense, and the ability to think and process is gone in their head, to the point where they may just walk up to a police officer and take the gun out of their holster. That hasn't happened on my unit yet, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen before. Everybody in this video is an idiot.
Call for help on the radio. Right
Off of me.
Josh.
The police officer constantly redirecting this other officer, the uniformed officer, to do things is doing the wrong thing, because what we need to be doing is getting this patient restrained, and neither of them know what the fuck they're doing.
Broke. You're under arrest.
And that lady is not doing anything other than making herself feel good, because she's talking to a guy who doesn't. It just doesn't matter.
Josh, get on the radio. Call for help. Broke. Give me your handcuffs right now. You're under arrest. I didn't do. Josh, put a handcuff on.
I'm trying to get you.
I didn't do.
See, these guys think they're dealing with a criminal right here, and they are not. They are dealing with a behaviorally sick person.
Here.
This guy needs to be in a hospital, getting PRNs and calming down, but he's face dirt with two police officers who don't have the slightest idea what they're doing. God, that shit's funny. Like, it's just insane. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And like, I don't think people understand what we're dealing with in America. just in America. I don't and across the world. We're not dealing with abstract problems. We're dealing with real problems created by abstract reasons. Like, people want to hate other people because of abstract reasons called religion and all that stuff, and we're going to such an extreme where we're becoming mentally unwell. Here we go.
It replaces the duality of the deceiver and the deceived. We limit ourselves to the denial that there is any value or intelligibility in its underlying theory of determinism and the fictitious.
Like, here's my problem with this: is if I could somehow figure out a way to put this book on the internet on YouTube and talk about it, I would. But the problem with that is it's just going to be taken down because I understand I'm copywriting something. I can't just play this for you. I think you should buy this book. I think you should buy the Psychiatry of Lies by Thomas Sass. That's what I think you should do. But I think when you do that, you need to be careful when you listen to it, because you can't go at this book like I'm a healthy person that's battling the world and everyone else is wrong, because that's not what I'm trying to get you to do. I'm wrong sometimes.
Mental entity, the unconscious, endowed with agency. The profound contradiction in all psychoanalysis is that it presents at the same time a bond of causality and a...
Yes, you're going to have to listen to Dead Air for a second. Here's some advice for anyone who wants to put things on the internet. Make sure you urinate before you start your stream.
A bond of understanding between the phenomena that it studies. These two types of relationships are incompatible. We do not reject the findings of psychoanalysis when they are obtained by the understanding. We limit ourselves to the denial that there is any value or intelligibility in its underlying theory of psychic causality. Elsewhere, Sartre states, "Thus psychoanalysis substitutes for the notion of bad faith the idea of a lie without a liar. It allows me to understand how it is possible for me to be lied to without lying to myself, since it places me in the same relation to myself as the other is in respect to me. It replaces the duality of the deceiver and the deceived, the essential condition of the lie, by that of the id and the ego." Freud was a raconteur, not a scientist. Apropos of the similarities between the tales told by Freud and Conan Doyle, Adam Kirsch, the book editor of the New York Sun, writes, "The secluded study, the thoughtful silences, the brilliant deductive leaps, even the cocaine addiction, there is no mistaking the similarity between Freud and Sherlock Holmes. Freud's case studies of the Wolfman and the Ratman share the suspense and glamour of Conan Doyle's tales of the Red-Headed League or the Speckled Band. Someone comes to Freud with a nightmare of 6 white wolves perched in a tree or an obsessive fear of horses. The doctor, like the detective, is not deeply interested in legwork. Instead, he sits in his study, listening quietly as the evidence forms a pattern in his mind, and then triumphantly names the culprit. Of course, in Freud's world, the guilty party is always the victim himself, wearing the disguise of the unconscious. It is his own lusts and shames that have left makes Freud one of modernity's greatest semantic anesthesiologists and boosters of narcissism. Can anyone today doubt that Freud elevated navel-gazing to new heights, or that psychoanalysis increased the sum total of narcissism in the world, especially for its practitioners and devotees?
Okay, so that's important. I agree with that statement. I agree with psychiatry boosting narcissism, because when you're given the power of understanding your own mind, what you're given is the power to understand other people's minds. And with freaking Spider-Man reference, a little, with power comes great responsibility and all that stuff, and that's true. It's really true, actually. See, the difference between, okay, so if we want to talk in terms of religion and spirituality, the difference between a Buddha man, and an evil man, or I guess if you want to go to like Hebrew, Abrahamic religion, you can say the devil or Satan is understanding the mind, being enlightened to the responsibility of life, but using it to your own advantage. That's the difference between a Buddha man and someone you could say that is satanic, or someone who is evil. I don't like using the word Satan as evil because that's not necessarily true. I don't like using that type of terminology at all, to be honest with you. I'm completely done with religion and taking it seriously. I honestly think, I'm just gonna say it outright, that I think religion needs to get the hell out of here. I'm honest. I'm just straight with you. I think religion is dangerous, and it's used for the wrong purposes. It's used, not wrong purposes. It's every single time it is used for nefarious purposes. It's used for wrong reason. It's the entire vehicle of religion is to manufacture cults and to manufacture safe spaces, and to manufacture see, there's communities in cults and in these religious influences, these communities of religion. There's community. Yes, there's community, but there's a lot of bad things happening to maintain that community. It's all nonsense. You can have that community and not have religion. In fact, you can have a healthier community and not have any religion at all. Because in order for your religion to have any meaning at all, other religions have to not have meaning, and that's where conflict begins. That's like you saying my thoughts are more real than their thoughts, and that's nonsense. And any person who wants to say that is trying to take your human rights away from you, because they don't know your thoughts. Like, it's not good, man. It's not healthy for a society. Like, I've had more problems with religion in my life, and from what I've seen in other people's lives. Like, religion is, like, it's such a problem. because you have these people, like these delusional people, trying to get you to join their cause because you're sick and not them, and that's nonsense. Like, you have a group of people trying to convince other people that they're sick so to join their cause, and that's dumb. Yeah, I was sitting in our common area at work with all of our patients one day, and there was I was helping one of our alcohol withdrawal I know this guy's he was in a drug-induced psychosis, and he was coming out of it, and there's this other patient with religious delusions, like a schizophrenic lady, a diagnosed schizophrenic lady with religious delusions, and she sat next to my patient, and she said, "You know, son, all you have to do to cure your schizophrenia is just to say that you love the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." And my patient's just sitting there holding his head because he's got a headache from all the drugs he took the night before. And this schizophrenic lady, is trying to project to my drug withdrawal patient that he has schizophrenia. And the only thing he has to do to be saved is say that he loves Jesus Christ. Now, that's probably one of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen in my life, because it confirms to me so many things. Which brings me to something that the reason why I wanted to bring this podcast on here today is, so when we're in a family of religious people, when we grow up in a family of religion, we don't notice the problems. We never tie the conflict to the things that we believe and do for some reason. I don't know. Well, it's an American culture thing. It's a Western religious and culture thing where we divide our thoughts from our actions, and that's bad. You're dividing yourself. You're dividing yourself from yourself, and you're tying yourself in knots. And because of this, we develop behavioral health problems like bipolar disorder. Like, we have higher degrees of anxiety. We have schizophrenia. Because if you take your religious thoughts too far, you're going to go into religious delusions. And then you're going to roll into schizophrenia. And then you're going to define yourself as someone who needs your head examined. Only you do that. Only we as individuals define ourselves as people who needs our heads examined. And religion has absolutely nothing to do with science unless you're looking at it from a scientific perspective and the consequence of what religion is doing to an individual. And the reason why a lot of religious cultures want science out is because science is a threat to religion as an institution. Because what science does is it cleans up all the dirt that religion does to the human mind. It discovers, it sees things, it identifies pattern, and it stops. And the problem religion has with that is all the things you're stopping is business. You're stopping business, you're stopping community, you're stopping reasons why people do things. Like, Jill over here has bipolar, and John over here helps people with bipolar. Well, if you cure the bipolar problem, John doesn't have a job anymore because Jill's not religious or whatever. And she discovers, well, she doesn't need John anymore. Which brings up another thing, codependency. You need to be like codependency is a requirement in religion. Like you have to be like codependent people need other people. I guess I want to say unhealthy codependency because like intellectually disabled people are always going to be codependent because they're intellectually disabled to the point where they're unable to like do anything on their own. That's real codependency. And those are the people who really need help. The schizophrenic really needs help. The bipolar really needs help, but they need different types of help than the intellectually disabled person who may be intellectually disabled because they have some type of brain malformation and they can't control themselves. Like I work with, I've seen a lot of moderately intellectually disabled people who are violent because they were unable to be taught, or they're unable to control their behavior, and every day they get so violent to the point where we have to restrain them, because if we don't, they'll hurt themselves and other people. Those people aren't necessarily evil. Those people are intellectually disabled. They're not able to control themselves. See, people don't understand what evil is, and evil is very much tied. It's very much associated with mental illness. Like something that, God, there's so much I want to talk about, but I can't just like shit it into a microphone and put it on the internet. I'm human, you know? I'm human.
Has been understood as a form of self-deception, a surrender to wishes, or jumping when a bomb goes off behind him. Karl Jaspers, 1883 to 1969, better known as an existential philosopher than a psychiatrist, which is what he was until his 40s, saw psychiatry clearly and fled the field. In his psychiatric magnum opus, General Psychopathology, first published in 1913, he wrote, "The behavior of neurotics and psychotics, criminals and eccentrics, has been understood as a form of self-deception, a surrender to a fictitious existence." Jaspers understood that, contrary to contemporary American psychiatric sentimental rhetoric, mental patients do not suffer from an illness. On the contrary, they bask in the enjoyment of a special kind of self-indulgence. Gérard Dunel.
Okay, I want to talk about that for a second. So, I don't know. Okay, let's look at January 6th in an honest light here for a second. And the people who showed up at the White House were your eccentrics, your neurotics, and your psychotics. And I find it really interesting how billionaires will gather up a bunch of crazy people and have them storm the Capitol, but you'll never see that same thing happen in order to save democracy.
Actor. One of the laudable byproducts of the Freudian quackery is the discovery that lying, in most cases, is involuntary and inevitable, that the liar can no more avoid it than he can avoid blinking his eyes when a light flashes or jumping when a bomb goes off behind him. Karl Jaspers, 1883 to 1969, better known as an existential philosopher than a psychiatrist, which is what he was until his 40s, saw psychiatry clearly and fled the
I accidentally pushed that thing
In
back.
his psychiatric magnum opus, General Psychopathology, first published in 1913, he wrote, The behavior of neurotics and psychotics, criminals and eccentrics, has been understood as a form of self-deception, a surrender to a fictitious existence. Jaspers understood that, contrary to contemporary American...
And see, what people don't understand about criminal behavior is a lot of those criminals are just behaviorally sick people, and that's why they're criminals. They're not trying... Like, a billionaire who has racked in billions of dollars and stolen all that shit, that's someone who's evil, who isn't necessarily in a state of psychosis. Those people are consciously evil. Those people are dangerous towards the public. Not necessarily a psychotic patient who's stealing a drink at a store because he doesn't know where he's at. Or someone who's so poor and so borderline, well, no, that person's stealing from you. Behavioral health is really complex.
In psychiatric sentimental rhetoric, mental patients do not suffer from an illness. On the contrary, they bask in the enjoyment of a special kind of self-indulgence. Gérard de Nerval, nom de plume of the French poet, essayist, and celebrated suicide, Gérard Labrunie, 1808 to... Introduction. The invention of psychopathology. Psychopathology, the pathology of the mind, the science of mental disease. Oxford English Dictionary. I have dedicated much of my professional life.
So, and what we're talking about when we're talking about mental illness is we're talking about your patterns of behavior that defines you. See, the only reason you know you have a broken arm is because you see you have a broken arm. When we're talking about mental illness, we're talking about your patterns of behavior that we define as whatever it is defined as.
To a critique of the immorality inherent in the practices of the modern misbehavioral sciences. The term is Jacques Barzon's, particularly psychiatry. I say inherent because deception and coercion are intrinsic to the practices of the mental health professions. The core concept of psychiatry, mental illness qua medical disease, and the profession of psychiatry as a medical specialty based on it, rest on the medicalization of malingering. The imitation of illness is memorably portrayed by Molière, 1622 to 1673, in his famous comedy Le Malade.
And I agree with that malingering statement there, because if your bipolar patient malingers in behavior, that's what they're doing. If they're malingering in bipolar behavior, that's how we determine if they're bipolar or not. If they're swinging back and forth between whatever they're swinging back and forth from in their spectrum of behavior, that's how we define the bipolar. That's the easiest way to say that.
Imaginaire, the imaginary invalid. As created by Molière, the imaginary invalid, then called a hypochondriac, is someone who wants to be sick and be treated by others, especially doctors, as if he were sick. Telling Argan, the self-defined...
And I've actually seen... I've had patients come into our unit and say they cannot move their arms and legs and they need to be fed. The problem with that is even those people still have enough self-respect to where if you put food in their room and you leave, they'll still feed themselves. The problem with that, though, is we have cameras in the rooms, and we see that. Or we see the fact that your food is just gone, and we've gone. I've had patients like that. I've had patients say they've lost all ability to use their arms and legs, and we've fed those patients for days. We'll just go along with them until, we determine that it's all fake, and then we go from there. There are people out there that do that. And I will tell you, I'm getting a lot of patients right now who have made so many bad choices in their life to where they're at a point where they're either psychotic or catatonic and they're unable to do anything. I see a lot of people like that, and that's why people tell you, well, you just got to keep pushing the limits. You got to keep pushing the limits. You got to keep pushing the limits in your behavior. And what you're doing there is you're pushing yourself towards insanity. The people that get you up every single day and push you to your limit are doing bad things to you. And you're allowing people to do bad things to you. You're doing bad things to yourself and with the guidance of others. And then you want to blame other people because they did that to you when you just did that to yourself. This is where personal responsibility comes in. You know, in American politics, you hear a lot of Republicans talk about personal responsibility. Those people have no fucking clue what that means. Not a single idea. American Republicans are more like communist collectivists than they are about the individual. In fact, I'll say that just straight Americans. Americans don't understand what it means to be an individual because no one can make their own minds up. That's what collectivism, that's you know, if you can't make any choices without someone else in a room, you are a codependent and you're unable to make your own choices. That's the simplest way I could say that. And if you're unable to make your own choices, how far does that go? Where is that affecting you in your life?
Patient that he looks well is considered rude in his household. Moliere's invalid confuses religion and medicine, imparting to medicine.
I think maybe this book is a bad way to explain this. I really got to get better at explaining things, man. See what happens. See, I took a year off, and I don't think I should have done that. But it's hard. Your entire life goes to shit. God, here's a good book. Whew.
God, because he cannot be found with.
This is probably one of the best books ever written.
Rather than any mere emotion, is the power and principle of free action and creative morality. On the other hand, the morality of rules and regulations based on rewards and punishments, even when these are as intangible as the pain of guilt and the pleasure of self-respect, has no relation to free action. It is a way of ruling slaves by benevolent exploitation of their illusions, and however far pursued, can never lead to freedom. Where there is to be creative action, it is quite beside the point to discuss what we should or should not do in order to be right or good. A mind that is single and sincere is not interested in being good, in conducting relations with other people so as to live up to a rule. Nor, on the other hand, is it interested in being free, in acting perversely just to prove its independence. Its interest is not in itself, but in the people and problems of which it is aware. These are itself. It acts not according to the rules, but according to the circumstances of the moment, and the well it wishes to others is not security, but liberty. Nothing is really more inhuman than human relations based on morals. When a man gives bread in order to be charitable, lives with a woman in order to be faithful, eats with a Negro in order to be unprejudiced, and refuses to kill in order to be peaceful, he is as cold as a clam.
I can't say it any better than that. Like, when you're talking about being a complete human being, you have to move past all this dumb shit that you've learned your entire life, no matter what culture that you live in. Because if you grow up in America, for example, you are taught from a really young age that you are the greatest thing that's on this earth, and everyone else is here to learn from you. And that is the stupidest thing that you could tell your child. Because you're literally giving them a gun before they're even old enough to shoot a gun. And what that gun is their mouth. Like, you're tying both of your child's arms behind their back and you're turning them into an animal. They're going to get punched in their face. Because there's morals and then there's this. You know, that goes way, being, that is not morality. This, when an old woman walks down the street and a tree falls on her and kills her, do we discuss the morals of the tree? No. We call that nature. And you're never going to be able to nurture your children with some small-minded, dumb, religious morality. All you're going to do is you're going to make their minds small and scared and only obedient towards authority. And we're that authority. The people are that authority. Not the president or not your parents or not anyone else on this earth. You're the authority. Like, the people are the authority. Yes, we grow up as children learning from our parents. But I'm someone who had really bad parents, and they didn't teach me anything worth a damn. I had to go find everything out by myself, and that's not easy.
He does not actually see the other person. Only a little less chilly is the benevolence springing from pity, which acts to remove suffering because it finds the sight of it disgusting. But there is no formula for generating the authentic warmth of love. It cannot be copied. You cannot talk yourself into it or rouse it by straining at the emotions or by dedicating yourself solemnly to the service of mankind. Everyone has love, but it can only come out when he is convinced of the impossibility and the frustration of trying to love himself. This conviction will not come through condemnations, through hating oneself, through calling self-love all the bad names in the universe. It comes only in the awareness that one has no self to love. Chapter 9. Religion Reviewed. We began this book with the assumption that science and
I can keep playing this book all
philosophy
day long. I'm not going to lie. I love this book. I think it says everything correctly.
We did not argue the point, but took it as the point of departure.
Like, it's just,
we adopted the prevalent view that the
ridiculous.
existence of God, of any absolutes, and of an eternal order beyond this world is without logical support or meaning. We accepted the notion that such ideas are of no value for scientific prediction, and that all known events can be explained more simply without them. At the same time, we said that religion had no need to oppose this view, for almost all the spiritual traditions recognize that there is a stage in man's development when belief, in contrast to faith, and its securities, have to be left behind. To this point, I do not think that we have claimed anything which cannot be verified by experiment, or asserted anything which seriously conflicts with a scientific view of the world. Yet we have now come to a position from which the principal ideas of religion and traditional metaphysics can once more become intelligible and meaningful, not as beliefs, but as valid symbols of experience. Science and religion are talking about the same universe, but they are using different kinds of language. In general, the statements of science have to do with the past and the future. The scientist describes events. He tells us how things happen by giving us a detailed account of what has happened. He finds that events occur in various frequencies and orders, and on this basis he makes bets or predictions in the light of which we can make practical arrangements and adaptations to the course of events. To make these bets, he does not need to know about God or eternal life. He needs to know the past, what has happened already. On the other hand, the statements of religion have to do with the present. But both
So, if you really, like, people want to argue with me when it comes to, like, the relationship between what they do and their disorders. And you can't, there is no separation in time and space. Like, there is no separation between who you are now and who you were 10 years ago. There is no separation between now and 10 years from now. Everything you do is an accumulation, or I'm sorry, the consequences of your life are just an accumulation of what you're doing now. And you can't separate anything. You can't say, well, my bipolar is doing this to me, so therefore I can't do anything. What you're saying there is just all nonsense. You're not taking responsibility for your life. And I see a lot of this in people with bipolar disorder. And I'm sure a lot of bipolar disordered people don't like me, and I'm okay with that. Because we have to get to the point where we have to talk about these things seriously. Like, the one thing that people, especially in America, like, they don't want to sit down and seriously talk about these things because they want to be free, and that is nonsense. And bipolar people are the most unfree people I've ever met in my life because they swing from one end of a spectrum of behavior to the next. And you ask why are things happening the way they're happening and all this stuff, and why would a person do these things? And it's not because of these pseudoscience, these pseudo terms like introversion and extroversion and all those dumb, like, terms that all these weirdos come up with. Like these palm readers and all these idiots who want to sell you fake solutions for your real life problems. Well, if you just drink this 4 times a day, your bipolar will go away. That's bullshit. That is just bullshit. And yeah, like, if you need medication to help your behavior, that's what you need. Like, I need 3,000 milligrams of Keppra a day to make sure I don't have seizures. But what I can tell you is if I drink enough water and I get enough sleep and I regulate I'm aware and I'm regulating what I'm doing, I can completely eliminate my seizures out of my life if I do certain things. That's what I know based off of my experience. So that should be no different for anyone else. And people are saying, well, that's an insane statement because you don't have bipolar. You don't know how hard it is to live with bipolar. I know how hard it is to live with someone with bipolar. That's what I can tell you. And, man, I feel like I'm turning into like an anti-bipolar person, but I've had so many problems because of redirection and all of this stuff in work environments and home environments with bipolar people, to the point where I've identified them I've identified that behavior as something that you should probably stay away from. Because if you're trying to get your life in order and you have a person coming in and having great ideas and the next day having another great idea and then undoing what you're doing the day before and then coming in the next day and undoing the day, you will never get anywhere in your life. In fact, that person will give you anxiety. And people want to ask, where does anxiety come from? I'm telling you where it's coming from. See, when we're talking about the human mind, we have to talk about everything. Because if we don't talk about everything, we're not getting to the point. And a lot of these nonsense conversations are just behaviorally sick people or people who don't know how to behave correctly coming in and messing your stuff up. And that's one thing I want to help people with. I want to help people identify problems in their life. It may be somebody. It may be you. It may be me. But we have to stop going towards wrong reasons. We have to stop reaching for nonsense vehicles to get you to somewhere that's never going to get you there. Like pulling up your bootstraps, that's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. And religion causes so many problems. And people want to talk, and the argument that will always come up with is eugenics. Like, well, you're practicing eugenics. So if we have these religious communities that are continuously pushing out bipolar people, that's also eugenics. Because the religion and determinism are the same thing. They're trying to determine you. See, if you grew up in a religious culture, you are most likely already predetermined. Because if you are an aesthetically attractive person, you're determined already to be successful. Because in America, so I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't understand. It's going to piss a lot of people off, but Americans are not religious people. Like, when I'm talking religion, I mean an understanding of the message of individualism and responsibility and all that stuff. Americans are not that. Americans use religion as a tool for aesthetics. As wealthy people love groups and they love aesthetics, and that's what's going on there. They are using religion and combining it with beauty, and then creating a competition with people. What is winning? How does one win in America? Well, you grow up, you get into circles, and you become beautiful. If you're ugly, you need to go a different route. It's why you have so many religious people who don't. I'm sorry. It's why you have so many religious people in America who when you talk to them you go deeper with them on religion, and you soon find out that this person has never read a religious book in their life, but they've got a cross around their neck, and they're dressed like their peers. That's because they're trying to fit in, and they're trying to win. Like I don't see the problem with me now is I don't take a lot of people seriously when like they put on their little costume and they start talking to me like there's somebody very, very important. And I don't see that at all. I just don't see that at all. Like I think religion is a psyop tool. It could be used as a psyop tool because you're gathering people, you're getting them all to believe in the same cause, and if you don't believe in that cause, you cannot work, you cannot be successful. That's not a free country. If I'm living somewhere and I can't be happy because there's a group that outnumbers me as an individual, and because I don't believe in what they believe, I have to suffer. That's not Jesus' message. But to talk about that with Americans is absolutely pointless because they just don't care.
For the reality that there is no separate self to surrender or leave it. But this does not solve the problem at all. It replaces the problem of holding or surrendering the self by the problem of accepting or refusing divine grace. And the two problems are identical. The Christian religion contains its own hidden answer to the problem in the idea that a man can only surrender himself in Christ. For Christ stands for the reality that there is no separate self to surrender. To give up I is a false problem. Christ is the realization that there is no separate I. I do nothing of myself. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. If there is any problem at all, it is to see that in this instant you have no I to surrender. You are completely free to do this at any moment, and nothing whatever is stopping you. This is our freedom. We are not, however, free to improve ourselves, to surrender ourselves, to lay ourselves open to grace, for all such split-mindedness is the denial and postponement of our freedom. It is trying to eat your mouth instead of bread. Is it necessary to underline the vast difference between the realization that I and the Father are one, and the state of mind of the person who, as we say, thinks he is God? If, still thinking that there is an isolated I, you identify it with God, you become the insufferable egomaniac who thinks himself successful in attaining the impossible, in dominating experience, and in pursuing all vicious circles to satisfactory conclusions. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. When the snake swallows his tail, he has a swelled head. It is quite another thing to see that you are your fate, and that there is no one either to master it or to be mastered, to rule or to surrender. Must we also insist that this
beautiful.
loss of I in God is not a mystic miasma in which the values of personality are obliterated? The I was not, is not, and never will be a part of human personality. There is nothing unique or different or interesting about it. On the contrary, the more human beings pursue it, the more uniform, uninteresting, and impersonal they become. The faster things move in circles, the sooner they become indistinguishable blurs. It is obvious that the only interesting people are interested people, and to be completely interested is to have forgotten about I. We can see, then, that the basic principles of philosophy, religion, and metaphysics may be understood in two entirely different ways. They can be seen as symbols of the undivided mind, expressions of the truth that in each moment life and experience are a complete whole. God is not a definition of this state, but an exclamation about it. Ordinarily, however, They are used as attempts to stand outside oneself and the universe, to grasp them and to rule them. This process is circular, however complex and devious. Because men have been circling for so many ages, the powers of technology have availed for little save to speed the process to a point of unbearable tension. Civilization is ready to fly apart by sheer centrifugal force. In such a predicament, the self-conscious type of religion to which we have so long been accustomed is no cure, but part of the disease.
Fear and Trembling, the Sickness Unto Death. That's a book I recommend.
If scientific thought has weakened its power, we need have no regrets, for the God to which it could have brought us was not the unknown reality which the name signifies, but only a projection of ourselves, a cosmic, discarnate I, lording it over the universe. The true splendor of science is not so much that it names and classifies, records and predicts, but that it observes and desires to know the facts, whatever they may turn out to be. However much it may confuse facts with convention and reality with arbitrary divisions, in this openness and sincerity of mind, it bears some resemblance to religion, understood in its other and deeper sense. The greater the scientist, the more he is impressed with his ignorance of reality, and the more he realizes that his laws and labels, descriptions and definitions, are the products of his own thought. They help him to use the world for purposes of his own devising, rather than to understand and explain it. The more he analyzes the universe into infinitesimals, the more things he finds to classify, and the more he perceives the relativity of all classification. What he does not know seems to increase in geometric progression to what he knows. Steadily, he approaches the point where what is unknown is not a mere blank space in a web of words, but a window in the mind, a window whose name is not ignorance, but wonder. The timid mind shuts this window with a bang, and is silent and thoughtless about what it does not know, in order to chatter the more about what it thinks it knows. It fills up the uncharted spaces with mere repetition of what has already been explored.
Okay, so I want to go further with that for a second. See, the reason why you want to clear your head is because you're always going to be analyzing your thoughts and never the world in front of you. And I've got this theory. I want to talk about this theory for a second. People wonder why they can't see the train coming. Like, let's say theoretically we're standing on railroad tracks and this train's coming and everyone else is getting out of the way, but there's these few people who are just standing there, completely clueless to this train. They've got functioning eyeballs, they've got ears, and they've got all of that. What's going on in their head to where they can't see that train? What I think is going on there is their beliefs. Their beliefs and their thoughts are so loud and so powerful to where they don't see the train coming. That's the difference in perception, in my opinion. Because if your eyes are working and your ears are working, but you can't see what's really going on, the only thing obstructing you and the only thing stopping you is your thoughts and the anxiety in your head. Like, if I went into a room with a violent psychotic patient and I was afraid of that patient, I would get my ass kicked. Because instead of watching their arms and their legs and their mouths to make sure they don't kick and punch and bite me, I'm scared. And I'm not acting right. I've got anxiety. I'm hesitating. See, anxiety is where hesitation's, that's the same thing. People with too many thoughts in their heads are the people who can't see things right, can't see things clearly. And by engaging in things, in anything, that will allow the continuation of those thoughts is the wrong answer. And that includes psychology. Because if you're going into a psychologist's office and talking about your thoughts, you're going to leave and you're going to keep analyzing those thoughts over and over and over and over and over and over again until you're like, oh my God, this isn't working. Let's try something new. And then you just start all over again. And then you keep going and going and going and going until the point where you literally lose yourself.
Lord. But the open mind knows that the most minutely explored territories have not really been known at all, but only marked and measured 1,000 times over. And the fascinating mystery of what it is that we mark and measure must in the end tease us out of thought, until the mind forgets to circle and to pursue its own processes, and becomes aware that to be at this moment is pure miracle. In ways that differ but little, this is the last word of Eastern and Western wisdom alike. The Hindu Upanishads say, "He who thinks that God is not comprehended, by him God is comprehended. But he who thinks that God is comprehended knows him not. God is unknown to those who know him, and is known to those who do not know him at all." Goethe says it in words which, to the modern mind, may be plainer. The highest to which man can attain is wonder, and if the prime phenomenon makes him wonder, let him be content. Nothing higher can it give him, and nothing further should he seek for behind it. Here is the limit. Or there are the words of St. John of the Cross, one of the greatest seers of the Christian tradition. One of the greatest favors bestowed on the soul transiently in this life is to enable it to see so distinctly and to feel so profoundly that it cannot comprehend God at all. These souls are herein somewhat like the saints in heaven, where they who know him most perfectly perceive most clearly that he is infinitely incomprehensible. For those who have the less clear vision do not perceive so clearly as do these others how greatly he transcends their vision. In such wonder, there is not hunger, but fulfillment. Almost everyone has known it, but only in rare instants when the startling beauty or strangeness of a scene drew the mind away from its self-pursuit, and for a moment made it unable to find words for the feeling. We are then most fortunate to be living in a time when human knowledge has gone so far that it begins to be at a loss for words, not at the strange and marvelous alone, but at the most ordinary things. The dust on the shelves has become as much of a mystery as the remotest stars. We know enough of both to know that we know nothing. Eddington, the physicist, is nearest to the mystics, not in his airier flights of fancy, but when he says, quite simply, something unknown is doing we don't know what. In such a confession, thought has moved full circle, and we are again as children. To those still feverishly intent upon explaining all things, upon securing the water of life firmly in paper and string, this confession says nothing and means nothing but defeat. To others, the fact that thought has completed a circle is a revelation of what man has been doing, not only in philosophy, religion, and speculative science, but also in psychology and morals, in everyday feeling and living. His mind has been in a world to be away from itself and to catch itself. Ye suffer from yourselves, none else compels, none other holds you.
Like, I really wish I could write a book like this, but I can't because it's already done.
And hug and kiss its spokes of agony, its tire of tears, its nave of nothingness. Discovering this, the mind becomes whole. The split between I and me, man and the world, the ideal and the real, comes to an end. Paranoia, the mind beside itself, becomes metanoia, the mind with itself, and so free from itself. Free from clutching at themselves the hands can handle.
See, what he's describing there is mental illness, and that's what I want people to understand. See, paranoia is basically you clutching at yourself to such a degree where you're a problem for everyone else. And that's how we define you as mentally ill. A person who is with himself and who is calm and who is aware of his environment and can sit there in peace is a person who is mentally healthy. That's the difference between an unhealthy person and a healthy person. Use your eyes. Don't use your thoughts to understand the world. Use your eyes and your senses. See, when your thoughts are so fucked up, your senses begin to stop working correctly. You sense the wrong things. That's why you have all these people attracted to con men and sick people, because their senses are all fucked up. If you grow up in a family full of mentally ill people, your senses are always gonna attract you to the problem, to the illness. Your senses are gonna sense that there's something wrong when you find a healthy person, because you found something different and you don't understand it.
Free from looking after themselves, the eye can see. Free from trying to understand itself, thought can think.
When you're mentally unwell, you are unable to identify what is well.
Following out the theme that,
and that's another reason why you should be really careful of who you surround yourself with, because if you're surrounding yourself with mentally ill people, you're going to turn into that, because you cannot separate yourself from your mind, and the mind is everything around you. Your mind just isn't in your head. We discover our minds by looking outward, and understanding outward and inward is all the same.
Are this universe, and you are creating it at every moment, because you see it starts now. It didn't begin in the past. There was no past. See, if the universe began in the past, when that happened it was now. See? Well, it's still now. And the universe is still beginning now, and it's trailing off like the wake of a ship from now. And the wake of the ship fades out, so does the past. You can look back there to explain things, but the explanation disappears. You'll never find it there. Things are not explained by the past. They're explained by what happens now. That creates the past. And it begins here. That's the birth of responsibility. Because otherwise, you can always look over your shoulder and say, well, I'm the way I am because my mother dropped me. And she dropped me because she was neurotic because her mother dropped her. And away we go back to Adam and Eve, or to a disappearing monkey or something. We never